Wednesday, July 13th at 6 o'clock. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Amanda Denmark,
Here.
Commissioner Jason Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Lydia DePaul,
Here.
Commissioner Charlie Whitmore,
Here.
Commissioner Rich Delcor,
Here.
Commissioner Kathleen Duncan,
Here.
Commissioner Jim Flynn.
Thank you. Notice regarding adjournment, the Planning Commission will not hear new items after 9:30 unless authorized by a majority vote of the commission members present. Items which have not been heard before 9:30 may be continued to the next regular meeting or special meeting date as determined by the commission members. Notice regarding public comments. Every member of the public who is recognized to speak shall address the chairman, and in speaking, avoid disrespect to the commission, staff, or other members of the meeting. State your name and address when speaking for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. May I have an adoption of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. May I have an adoption of the minutes, please?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any public comments for items that are not on the agenda?
We have one for not on the agenda.
Okay, so,
Art Gopalin,
okay.
you can stand up to the microphone. For your public comment, state your name and address.
My name is Ananta Art Gopalan.
Speak
I
a little
live
closer to the microphone. Speak closer to the microphone. There you go.
Hear me now?
There you go.
My name is Ananta Art Gopalan. I live in Bluffton in Dovetree Lane here. I'm kind of surprised. This is my first time here. We moved here about 7 years ago. I just wanted to comment on the fact that Bluffton has grown, and it has grown too much too fast. And it is beginning to look like a place that I left in Northeast. And but in any event, I thought that you will conduct the business and then there will be a public comment at the end. And therefore, I was not prepared to address it, the subject that you have on, except to say that I think you got to slow down the expansion because we are running out of infrastructure. Water is an issue. Electricity is an issue. We have experienced frequent brownouts and blackouts here since we moved, and it is a lot more noticeable. And we get we get directive from the water company saying that we need to restrict. Not that I'm against it. It's just that it is a change. And I see thousands of homes being awarded, and I also see a lot of trees being cut willy-nilly. Buildings are built right next to the pavement, and this is not the kind of place that we saw when we first moved. So it is a departure. It is not. It doesn't bode well for the community. So I hope you'll take that into consideration and not allow further development, because incremental development is more costly. What we are doing is we are forcing the citizens that are here to pay for that incremental development. What I mean by that is if the infrastructure requires a water treatment plant, that's going to cost about $50 million, and that's going to be spread on other people. The people that are already here. They didn't sign for it, but they are being forced into it. I want the developer that are putting up thousands of homes to pay for them. The incremental costs are not the same. It's a diminishing return. And so that's basically what I want to convey to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any old business? Anybody? Okay. New business. Washington Square Townhomes, a request by Tina Ball on the behalf of Washington Square Holdings for approval of a street naming application. Dan?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's a street naming application for Washington Square Townhomes. It's a request by Tina Ball on behalf of Washington Square Holdings LLC for approval of a street naming application. The applicant's requesting approval of the following street names to be used for the future development of the Washington Square townhomes. Road 1, Stanton Way and Marlowe Way. Road 2, Barrow Alley, Vernon Alley. Road 3, Mercer Street, Preston Street. Road 4, Worcester Lane and Whitestone Lane. All of these have been accepted. On January 26th, the Town of Bluffton Planning Commission approved the preliminary plan for Washington Square townhomes. 58 townhome residential lot development. The proposed development received final development plan approval at the March 23, 2022 approval at the March 23, 2022 DRC meeting. This street naming application provides potential names for the 4 roads to be built as part of the development. The street naming application was reviewed at the July 6, 2022 meeting of the DRC with all requested street names approved. Planning Commission actions as granted by the powers and duties set forth in UDO Section 2.2.6.C5. The Planning Commission has the authority to take the following actions with respect to this application. Approve the application as submitted by the applicant, approve the application with conditions, or deny the application as submitted by the applicant. And this is the review criteria that was included in your staff report. Staff recommendations, finding, the town staff finds that all 8 of the proposed new street names are acceptable and meet the requirements of Article 3 of the UDO as stated above. And the staff recommendation is staff finds that the requirements of Section 3.15.3 have been met and recommends that the Planning Commission approve the following 8 street names: Stanton Way, Marlowe Way, Barrow Alley, Vernon Alley, Mercer Street, Preston Street, Worcester Lane, and Whitestone Lane.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
First time I've ever seen one where none of the names have been struck. Interesting. No.
I just narrowed them down, so. Okay.
Yeah, I did a preliminary search. I thought I found Stanton Court in Bluffton and then also a Berry Lane. And the Berry Lane doesn't bother me as much in its,
Can you put those names back up, please?
in its similarity to Barrow Alley, excuse me. But the Stanton Court seemed awfully similar. And perhaps I was looking at the wrong Bluffton. So Charlie, while you're over there looking at that, that wouldn't bother me.
I did look at the Bluffton street names too. I did not see that.
Okay. Like I said, I know I pulled up Bluffton and I might have done it too quickly. And if you don't see it, then I'm sure it's just me being wrong.
Just as a reminder, these were all vetted through EMS, fire, and our GIS department.
Okay, thank you.
There is a Stanton Court. It is in Lawton Station. No? Yeah, Stanton Court and Lawton Station. So it might not be a bad idea.
What was the other one, Barrow?
Yeah, there's a Berry Lane.
Berry?
Yeah, Berry, Barry, not Berry. So it's just close, but I don't know that it's enough the same to be, and it's a lane, not an alley. So it might, if that one was
might
kind
be
of
okay.
on the
Yeah.
fence about, but the Stanton one was the one that had me
The
concerned.
Stan one might be a little bit,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
iffy. Okay, does anyone want to make a motion with that information in mind? Do you want to do that?
I make a motion to approve
You can
all of the
list
road
them.
names with the exception of Stanton Way.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. So now we are on to our discussion item, which is the workshop regarding the Blueprint Bluffton, and Kevin is going to present that. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Commissioner. We're here this evening for a workshop for the comprehensive plan. I wanted to just kind of start out and say that we listened to you at the last meeting. There was a lot of comments, there was a lot of concerns with this comprehensive plan. Obviously, we want to do this right the first time, and obviously want to have a favorable plan to present to town council for their adoption. So this evening I've got Kyle Theodore. He's on the Teams link. So, all right, Kyle, can you hear me now? Okay. All right. So, Kyle, we're going to get ahead started. So this evening, our goal is to kind of come up with a game plan moving forward. We had asked for all of you to provide some comments to us based off of I believe that was draft 3.0. We received those comments last week, knowing that there was not sufficient time to incorporate all those comments into the plan, staff review it, and then get a copy of that to you. We asked Kyle with MKSK to take that information and kind of do an assessment, just a brief assessment, so that way he can kind of guide you moving forward. What I would like to do during this workshop, obviously, is to hear some of your concerns, have Kyle kind of give us a brief rundown of everything that he's been looking through. Ultimately, I'd like to be able to come out of this meeting with a plan of future meetings with you, planning commissioners, with our goal of, if we can, still have a recommendation at the the August 24th Planning Commission to move forward to town council. Now with that, I'd like to kind of potentially back into potential special meetings with you and go through chapters, either one at a time, or we might have to do 2 chapters in a meeting. That way if that means that we have to do 4 meetings over the next 6 weeks, we can potentially do that, and then hopefully have that favorable plan in front of you at the August Planning Commission. So I know that I think that some of you probably had some concerns that the information hadn't been incorporated into the document that was provided in the staff report. So again, there was the amount of time that we had asked to get all that information together was very short amount of time. So if there's any initial questions for you guys that you want to shoot out, or we can actually just go ahead and have Kyle step in and start going over some of the comments you had, and then between myself and Charlotte Moore, we can kind of facilitate the discussion and then ultimately move to scheduling some meetings to go over these items.
I have a question, just a couple questions. So are we still going to do the planning commission meeting just like this normal format on the 27th this month?
So yes, we still have a planning commission meeting. Now, I will also tell you that we have a pretty heavy agenda that's going to be coming through with 3 master plan amendments, 2 preliminary development plans, and a certificate of appropriateness. So it might be beneficial to not have a comprehensive plan meeting during that meeting, because I think we would probably be here until very late. So I mean, if we need to, we can, but we might want to look at having a separate meeting to start with.
And then, did you say you were thinking this is like 4 to 6 meetings?
Whatever you guys decide.
Okay.
I just threw a number out there.
Chapters.
And would that meeting look similar to this format, or would it be more roundtable in a room where it's discussion oriented?
I think it would be beneficial to continue to have, we can have a roundtable discussion. I'd still like to be able to have it recorded, open to the public, so that way anyone have an opportunity to come in. We would have an agenda, and it would show, what section of the document that we would be talking about at that meeting. So anyone would still have an opportunity to come in, make comments on it.
Like while we're commenting, we can comment back and forth?
Yes, I want to make sure to, I wouldn't want to restrict it to exactly 3 minutes, but, I want to be able to still have control over the meeting and not go off,
Right.
off kilter.
And the town will be publishing in advance what each of those meetings.
That's our
the
goal,
sequence of
yes.
those meetings.
Yes.
Okay. And what would be the notice in advance of those meetings?
Typically, it's, we try to get it 1 week out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're going to be rolling through these chapters. So as we're bringing new material in, we're updating old material.
Okay.
So
Great.
it's going to be,
So would it always be, like she was saying, this format, like on a Wednesday at 6?
No,
Or it
again-
could be throughout the day sometime?
it could be during the day. Again, that's our decision. Yes. And knowing that obviously not everyone can make every meeting, but we would want to make sure that we can get as many commissioners in as possible. And then if you have comments, additional comments on something, you can always provide ahead of time. You could potentially Zoom in if necessary, or a Teams meeting, and still be in the conversation.
Okay,
Okay.
good. All right, so does anybody else have anything, or do you want him to go ahead and just start?
Okay. All right, Kyle, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
let Kyle start and.
pass it on to you. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, great to be back in front of you, even though it's virtual here, and I feel like Oz here on the side of the wall. But just, really appreciate the time and the thoroughness with which, the comments that we've collected thus far reflect throughout the work, what I'm doing at the current moment. And I apologize, we're at a bit of an interim step here in terms of our assessment, but we've collected now 245 comments, unique comments from you all. We also, as of today, received comments from Watershed that we're also incorporating. My process at this point, I'll talk quickly about kind of the process to evaluate and organize those comments. And I'll talk a little bit more about the substance and theming, I think, of what we've heard, thus far. First, our approach in this would be to begin to throw each of these unique comments into some buckets. So to understand where there's some resonant thought, maybe about a transition, a move, addition, whatever it might be within the document, and to evaluate that based on, is this a subjective item, meaning we need somebody to break the tie, right, or some staff weigh in? Is it a significant edit or substantial, meaning that our team will need to evaluate the time necessary to address? And thirdly, is this something that we ought to just go ahead and pick up? And quite frankly, for those things that edits that are obvious or we ought to pick up, we've begun that process as of receiving the review document back from you all. So I'm about 3/4 of the way through the work that you all have done in the document thus far in attempting to organize that. What I owe staff, and I'm hoping to have this completed by the end of this week, and also including and integrating what we just received from the Watershed, is an evaluation of the work in the planning ahead. I think within the substance of your comments, which again, I really do appreciate the thoroughness with which you all have gone through this document. You should all know that's not very common, I think, among communities like yours, and it's very much appreciated by me. We do this work in partnership with you all, and having that feedback is just absolutely critical. There are certain chapters, as you may have seen in your review, that have attracted more comments than others. I think some theming that we've received throughout, and obviously the conversation is well reflected in the comments that we've received that we had a month ago. But I think in certain areas there's a clarification necessary. There are notes, I think, around a terminology that can or should perhaps be adjusted. There's several notes within this as we talk about sort of the themes or resonant comments that we've received around this idea of control versus influence action, and considering those systems that are very critical to the quality of life, quality of place, or opportunity in Bluffton, making sure that there is strong reference and acknowledgement, even if it's not through a specific action, but through the inventorying and the work that is necessary to precede each of those action agendas. So with that, again, I really do appreciate the work. I feel bad that we are kind of in the midstream of reviewing this, but as we get this completed and I get this assessment extended over to Charlotte and to Kevin, the next thing we'd like to do, I think, along with you all, is get a work plan put together about how we intend to address the large and small, comments that were shared by you all in the draft. I do love the idea. I think it's been brought up here by Kevin of breaking this into some bits and some pieces. I think as you all well point out, there are some areas that need to do where we need to do more work than perhaps others. But either way, I'd love to have some full coverage and full conversation within each of our 10 elements for you all to feel very comfortable about taking this next step. So, Kevin, I'm just kind of staring at myself here on the screen, but I think if we have some questions or initial thoughts or any clarifications from the commission, I'd be very happy to start that conversation.
All right. So I guess any initial questions?
I just have a quick question on process. When do we do public comment for this part of the agenda tonight?
So what we're going to do is the goal is to from a staff standpoint, staff providing some of this information ahead of time, and then the chair has the opportunity to call for public comment. The intent is to have some of this information out first before we have public comment.
Just in case it helps clarify.
Yes.
Okay.
Has the steering committee reviewed draft number 3.0?
No.
Are they on the invitation? Will they be specifically invited to these workshops that we're doing?
We haven't addressed that. That's something that we could look to include.
Have
Can
other
we-
boards been included or know that this is going on?
That was the other question I was going to ask is, have we resourced Chamber to have them take a look at this? Has Down Ryan Center looked closely at this? Some of our bigger groups.
Partners, yeah.
Yeah, our partners in the town. I'd like to hear them specifically, because some of them are,
They're more knowledgeable about. some
and
of this
historic
information.
preservation, the Affordable Housing Committee. I want them to be a part of that conversation as we go through these by chapter. So they may not be necessarily
Right now, but.
specific to all the meetings, but they may come to very specific meetings.
Correct. I agree. Anybody else?
So what are you suggesting, that they be invited to these meetings?
I think they
Or
should
have
know.
separate reviews?
Well, I think they should know about all of the meetings and they could go to the ones they wanted, but at least be at the ones that
We're
pertain to
having.
them.
Yeah, and that way they
Because
can prepare in
each chapter
advance.
has several of
Yeah.
those.
Agree.
So based off that, what we can do is, number one is we'll let steering committee, we'll obviously get copies into their hands. We will inform them once we've established all of the meetings, dates, times that we're looking at, invite them to all of the meetings. And then we will ask when we determine which of the elements are on each meeting, we can then make sure to ask the appropriate group to attend the meeting, just so that way, obviously give them information ahead of time, and then have them, or ask them to attend, or at least a representative to attend, because not everyone, will be able to do that. And then they could provide some input, and then provide any feedback with you.
Yeah. Another question I have, I handed a pretty thorough markup of, but only sections 1 through 3, because that's all I was able to accomplish by last Wednesday. I have more that I can go through and provide. I'm curious, should I go ahead and finish that process and let that be a part of it, or just wait till we go through this
I would think you'd
kind of
want to provide
conversation?
any feedback, right, as soon as
Yeah,
possible, just so it can be incorporated in their thought pattern.
Yes, yes. So
Go
any
ahead and
any
do it.
additional feedback that you have from the other elements, definitely,
Okay.
please submit them, as soon as you can. That'd be great.
Certainly. I apologize if I have a little bit of trouble hearing y'all, but I think what I heard was there was some additional chapter review that could be done. And I think, Kevin, to your point, if there is the idea of cycling around this work and some additional meetings, we'll certainly take those comments as they come in. Obviously, I would like to try and complete a full assessment of your comments and revision suggestions. So I think the sooner we can assemble those things, the sooner we can pump out another version. But I also understand there's a lot to get through here, so I appreciate that timing.
For tonight's purposes, should we go through like the major items that we are concerned about, and then
I was just,
we whittle it down during the other meetings, like more detailed?
from my perspective, and obviously I'm just one person, I think what's primarily important is setting up the number of meetings, when those meetings are going to be
Sure.
happening. And then we can, then we can see where we're at.
Yeah, and I agree with that, because most of my comments were theme-related.
Right,
They weren't specific, change this word to this word.
right.
Which I thought would be better suited in the roundtable discussion.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, to give him an idea of what our major points are, and then we can talk about the details of it
Yeah,
later.
and small, like grammatical, non-content information.
We don't need to talk
like,
about
we'll clear all of that up.
Yep. Yep.
Even if it's adopted and we realize that there is a grammatical error, we can always
Change that.
change that. Yes.
Yeah. So is there an overlying theme or something that someone has a great concern about in particular?
I'm kind of at a loss here tonight, to be honest with you, because I just expected us to have something back to kind of dig our teeth into, and I know we're just not at that point yet, and
So is this too early, I guess?
yeah, I mean, set the meeting dates and the subjects to be covered, and then we can start digging in relating to the meeting dates and invite the appropriate committee representatives to be here, hear the public's comments from tonight. I just don't
So is
feel
everybody,
like square peg, round hole right now.
so there's not, it's hard for everyone to discuss anything because we don't have anything to look at to discuss that's different than the last time.
Agree with, I guess I would challenge us, are there high-level themes that we should be putting out to the consultant, to the staff tonight, that they ought to organize some of our discussion around for these subsequent meetings?
True, right.
Because I don't want to get into a meeting and find we're niggling words. That would be a waste of time. But if we say we're going to hit people and community facilities for the first meeting, what are the major themes, 1 or 2 or 3, that we think we ought to be focusing on for those discussions?
Okay, so should we go to each chapter and kind of give them an idea or a word or a sentence to say, this chapter is this concern, like just for tonight's meeting?
Yes, I think that was staff's goal as we're moving forward. Because, if you remember, and I had the calendar up here, just from a timing standpoint, we had, with the July 4th holiday, that kind of put a kink in everyone's
Yeah,
plans, in the sense of like, going through the process of getting, information together, and then, getting it back to the consultant. That's why we wanted to have this special meeting, because we still have another meeting in 2 weeks for our normal business that's going to need to be addressed. So, I've got the wheel of elements up here, And what we can do is just kind of start, you know, if there are two that you think that are appropriate to
Focus on.
combine in a meeting, let's focus on that. Let's kind of get those put together, and then we don't necessarily have to do them specifically in order of the way that the document is written. You know, we can bounce around to them, but I just like to, you know, have an idea of, you know, what, you know, which elements you want to put together. You know, natural resources and resiliency is probably one that, you know, I would put together for discussion. That's when we could ask, you know, representatives from WAPAC and our watershed management division to be in attendance. We actually have a member of WAPAC here this evening as well. And then, you know, we could look to put like land use and housing together. And as I'm I'm writing these out while we're talking.
Yeah, Kevin, I think there's a natural pairing between people and cultural resources, between community facilities and transportation, between economy, housing, and land use, and then finally between natural resources and resiliency.
So if we
makes sense.
do that, that says we've got what, four groups?
Yeah. I think
Can we-
Kevin's writing it out. How many groups we got, Kevin?
It's 4.
All right, he was talking really fast. We said cultural resources and people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. and then
Transportation, community,
Community facilities, transportation.
Yep.
natural resources, resiliency.
Yeah, land use and housing, and then is there?
Economy went in that one.
Cultural and
Yeah.
people.
Economy.
I would make the argument of breaking economy out to its own, to be
Yep.
honest with you.
Okay, all right. So,
So that's 5?
right there, we're
Fine.
looking at potentially having 5 meetings.
Okay.
You want to work on dates now before we talk topics?
Well, it's kind of hard to do dates, right? Because we have to make sure it coordinates with
Well, I think,
other town
What we can do is
meetings.
I mean, from.
Can we say that, yes, we want them in the daytime versus at a 6 o'clock meeting?
That's up to you guys. Again,
if
these
you
are.
do that, Jason probably won't be able to come.
I might be able to make that.
Yes. Would you have the ability to zoom in on maybe 1 or 2 of them?
Probably. I mean, I might be able to make one in person.
Right,
And it's going to be very hard for me to do. I mean, this time of year, the profession I'm in,
yeah.
it's very hard for me to do.
And there's
So
vacations.
the other idea is, I don't know, maybe it's starting at 5 o'clock.
Or 4.
Or 4. So,
Yeah, that might be a good idea, starting at 4.
or I wouldn't say 8 o'clock in the morning.
I could do 6 a.m.
Yeah, let's do 6.
All right.
But I wonder if we should pick the time and pick the dates, and then not necessarily which topics were, other than the first one, and let Kevin and staff work with, okay, affordable housing can come on this date, so let's make these this date.
I just want to make sure that they don't have, if we're doing it here in this forum, that they don't have other meetings scheduled at those times, because they use this room a lot. So that's why it's like kind of hard for us to make that schedule without knowing their schedule.
Well, I do know that Tuesdays are not good. That's court day.
Right.
So court has the building. I know that, you know.
Wednesdays are usually not good.
Wednesdays at 1 o'clock are no good, but it doesn't sound like we're getting close to a 1 o'clock time frame. The only one closest would be a Monday at 4 o'clock, which is Historic Preservation Commission. Obviously, we want to stay away from Tuesday.
It's just Wednesdays is hard because then there's different
Yes.
meetings at 6, so everything would have to like abruptly stop.
So, correct. So again, from a timing standpoint, just looking, I mean, I can tell you that obviously we have Planning Commission on the 27th.
Okay.
So Thursdays, surprisingly, Thursdays are always are open. I don't think we have any
LEC meets in here on next Thursday.
next Thursday. Okay, so
Scratch that.
21st. Yep, there you go. Okay. And then.
What are your Fridays like at 4?
Yes.
At the dispensary.
Okay, Kevin, I'm getting out of here.
Is Wednesday an ongoing thing an issue? Are Wednesdays?
Well,
a
it's
time?
hard because like there's HPC, there's planning, there's
Those are the
those are the main ones.
big ones on Wednesdays. You know, I can, just
They're like
looking.
the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday.
Surprisingly, like, so next week is actually kind of like this lull week, where I don't think we have any meetings.
So could we do like Wednesday, Thursday, well, not Thursday, but,
Yeah, and we can do back-to-back.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, like,
dates.
the next week when we don't, shoot, well, that's planning, so.
Yes, so there's, we have yeah, so, okay. So there's one date. I'm just going to write dates down
So you're saying
The
July 20th?
as a
Yes,
possibility.
But
So
the 21st is no good.
The 21st is fine. It's
It's-
this week, this Thursday is.
Okay, so the 20th and 21st.
I can't make the 21st, but we're not
Okay.
all going to be able to make every meeting,
Yep,
so.
yep. So, I mean, we can just get a list of,
We have-
let's start working on a list of dates, and then we can go
Well-
back and
Yeah.
look through
Let's
it.
talk times for a second. Are we talking like 4 to 6
I would say
or
4 to 6.
I mean, is that possible for you?
I can make it work.
I mean, like you said, we might be able to do every one of them, but,
Right.
or show up a little late. Is that okay?
I think so. I mean, unless you wanted to do it at 5 o'clock, at least that way, I think that might be.
I prefer a 5, but I'll just make work whatever has to happen.
Is Kyle attending?
I would say yes. Yes.
So we're going with 5?
So if you're
Is
looking
that,
at
well, 5s are a little bit harder, but, okay.
You're saying because it constrains the back end of it going too late, or just from your personal?
Just personal stuff, but
Okay.
I'll work around it.
You signed away your personal life when you volunteered.
yes.
That's why I have
But
no
listen,
personal life.
you'll get an overtime paycheck.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah.
just a
Waiting for
reminder.
years.
Oh,
How about
okay.
we split the difference and go for 4:30, and if you can make it at 4:30, and does that?
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank you, Charlie.
I don't know. I'm just trying to be Solomon here.
Yeah. Okay.
4:30 to
So-
6:30?
30 to 6:30.
Yep,
No
ish.
later than
Yep.
ish.
Ish.
That's on the 20th. Is it also on the 21st?
So we're just picking days right now, potential days. So the 20th, 21st, potential days. Obviously, the 27th is, I
Out.
would advise to not,
Yeah.
let's stick with our normal meeting for that information. 26, CBAA has been canceled already, so they don't meet.
26th,
Is the
Rotary
quarter-
Center, yeah, the contractor meeting.
a quarterly contractor workshop meeting, but that's over at, that's at the Rotary Center, so it doesn't necessarily, we can
We can make it work instead.
make it work, so that's a potential.
The 26th, you said?
Yeah, I'm missing that one.
Stupid question. Are we going to be televising these?
We will have to reach out through the IT department to confirm if necessary. It might have to be delayed. Yes, but
But if we
again, the
meet here,
goal
it
is
can be
that
filmed.
we're promoting this. We're letting people know they will have an opportunity to be in
Be
person.
present.
Right.
Okay.
So potentially the 28th.
We're probably going to be beat up after the 27th.
Yes, you are correct.
So you said potentially
So-
the 26th too?
Yep.
I'm out that whole
So
week.
does that take care of the 4?
We have 5.
That's 4 dates, but
Okay, let's pick another, yeah, just in,
Yep, potentially. Then we've got, moving into August, there's the 2nd, which
BZA was canceled.
BZA's been canceled, so that's an opportunity.
on the 2nd, but is that court?
Yeah, but it's in the, they're done.
Okay,
They're done by that time.
okay.
The 3rd is HPC, so that one's out. The 4th is an possibility.
Is not?
Is
Is a possibility.
yeah. The 9th is town council. And then it looks as though probably the 10th, 11th,
The 10th is open, the 11th is not.
August 10th. Okay.
If it's at all possible, I think I mentioned to you, I'm out the week of that week of July, so I would hate to miss 3 meetings if you did 7/26, 7/28, and 8/2.
I would say not do the 28th because we're going to be tired from the 27th.
Yeah.
I would prefer not to do either the 26th or the 28th.
Okay.
If we have that many agenda items.
For the
on planning
27th,
agree.
so we
We
need,
need to prep for planning commission that
Right.
week.
Okay, all right. And that's why we're just kind of going through these and,
Well, now that we're thinking about it, and once
Yeah.
Rich said what he was saying.
we need to just have that one big meeting on that week.
I would also suggest that we probably not push it any further than August 10th. That gives us an opportunity to make any adjustments to the documentation to be able to get it prepared for the meeting on the 24th. Again, the goal is that, like, we're going through all of these items and that you are at a point where you feel that you're comfortable in making that recommendation based off of all of these meetings that we've been going through. And then that actual public hearing recommendation meeting is the overview. We're not workshopping it during that one and providing that recommendation to town council.
Okay.
On August 10th, so how much time will we have to review it before the meeting that we're recommending it, if we're still doing comments on August 10th?
So maybe we don't do the 10th. So maybe
It's just a question.
Yeah, no, I get it. And maybe
Well,
the
we
Well,
have,
fine, yeah.
we have 5 dates if we have the 10th in there. We have 7/20 and 21, 8/2 and 4, and 8/10.
Right. And we needed
After we
5
knocked
meetings.
everything else out, we've got 5 dates.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that we have time to read the final draft before this.
They can be working on the revisions on the other stuff, and
Throughout.
then whatever we cover on the 10th, it's just going to have to be a rush for them.
Does it make
You can get
sense?
it back by the 11th, right?
Kyle?
Kyle.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my calendar here. I'm trying to drag along here with you all. I think I've got it going on in the notes here. And Charlotte, I trust you're taking notes on this too. I have some thoughts on the rhythm of topics too, but I'll introduce that once we get all the dates nailed down here.
And Kevin, when you reach out, I'm assuming it's you, or when staff reaches out to those specific partner groups, I'm wondering if that may end up pushing and pulling at time, because it's really important to me to have these partners at this meeting, a representative,
Right.
like we talked about. But if that means that there's one that are like, we really cannot do it at 4:30 on any of these dates, I'd like that to be,
So if you will allow staff, we've got 5 subjects and then 5 dates.
yeah.
Let us work with each of those groups to see who we can fit in there, and then we can then come up with an assessment and then get that back out to you. Today is Wednesday. Our goal is, if we can get it Friday morning to you guys, and then clearly establish this meeting we're going to be doing this meeting we're going to do this, and this meeting we're going to do
So
this.
should we give you a priority of what we think, which one should go first? It may not happen that way, but,
Sure, absolutely.
like which subject or chapter?
Kyle just said he had a
Well, I know, but I'm asking
suggested flow, and then we
if
can.
we do, or do you want to hear his
Well,
first?
That's what I'm
I
saying.
would like
Let's
to
what
hear
he
him
suggests,
first,
and we can
and-
always change it, right?
And again, we need his input. Then to Kathleen's point, we need to hear who can attend what meetings.
Okay,
there-
Kyle, do you want to tell us what you think, order of importance, or not importance, but
Sequence.
the sequence, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So if we're gonna pair them up, my thought based on the volume of comments, we would kick off with people and cultural resources. I think there's some natural pairing there. There's a lot of heavy comments in that, and a lot of, I think, necessary discussion that we need to have as a group on those 2 topics in particular. I'd like to follow that with natural resources and resiliency. Resiliency is that new topic. It is heavy. There's a lot in it. A lot of suggestion about some reorganization of that and movement. I then would like to go to the land use and housing, not necessarily because of the volume of comments, but because that has the potential to have the most significant edit schedule, depending on how that discussion plays out. Transportation and community facilities, because a lot of the comments of facilities, I believe, are relatively straightforward and require some additional work, research, just including a more robust inventory. I'd like to land on that one and then finish with economics and the priority investment. This is just my opinion. You guys can pursue it however you like, but I think that's based on what I've read thus far. I think if we ended with economics and priority investment, that would also give our economic partners more time to clear their schedule for that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I suggest we do it in the exact reverse.
Okay.
Charlie. Is everybody okay with that order being the preference if it works out that way schedule-wise?
Yes.
Yeah, my only, I guess, the third meeting is the one I'd have to miss. I would hope to be able to zoom into that because that's an important one for me
That
too.
would be the August 2nd?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd like to zoom in for that.
Is there any way for us to also get like the list of comments, just so that we can be thinking through those?
Do you mean from the public? I'm sorry to interrupt.
From fellow commissioners or other people who have submitted written comments?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Everyone, basically.
Yeah.
And I agree.
Yeah.
300
Would like,
comments.
sorry. I would like the survey that was made available, and if there was multiple surveys, I'd like to see the survey questions and the survey responses that helped develop this.
Kyle, I'm assuming that that was something that was Sarah was working on.
Yeah, of course we can share that. Not a problem.
In advance of those meetings.
So just go ahead and send that information now. Okay.
Yeah. And then the other thing I'd really love to get my hands on is a better copy of the future land use map and the existing land use map as, like a PDF is fine. I can work with that, but just one where it's a
The big one,
singular image.
Yes, and I think we already have a copy of that, and we'll definitely send that to everyone.
Because it's hard to read on the 2 pages. It's kind of
Great,
pixelated,
Yep.
and I want to look at it in reference to our current
Yep.
future land use map and our,
Okay, and that's on the website, but what we'll do is we'll provide a direct link to it.
If I could real quick, Kevin, because that one I'd sent earlier, there are some edits that were made between that first and where we are now.
Okay.
So I can follow up tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow morning, with a large version of both of those maps for you all to take a look at.
Thank you.
thank you.
And if there's any other maps that you see that would be helpful to review in, a larger format, please just let me know.
Some in there that were very hard to read because they were blurry or the,
Size.
the size of them were just,
So, I guess Kyle, with that, do you have individual files of each of those maps that you could just put like in a OneDrive or something that we could then access and then that way they could see the maps outside of the document?
but I also want to
Yeah,
make sure in
of
the
course.
document they're legible because they're not legible.
Right, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but you've been doing kind of like a low res version of this, and that there
Just
is-
for review sake.
for review sake,
Okay.
and that there is a high res version that everything is
Okay.
clear.
Okay, I just want to
Yeah,
make
of
sure.
course. And I'm sorry about that, everybody. Just trying to get it transmitted. The low res sometimes has some issues, but I can follow up with all the map exhibits for your review. And if there are some of them that you just don't feel work at the size in which they're included, we'll review, we'll up the size and scale of that, and make sure that those are readable.
Thank
Or could
you.
we even do an appendix at the end that's like a full sheet of each map
Wait, I'm
that's
sorry,
referenced?
Speaking to the mic.
Sorry, can we do like an appendix possibly of the maps as the larger format, even in the final document? I understand that we have them in context with writing, but
In the
like,
document, but just, we
At the
can,
end, like the UDO has.
I got
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I understand what you mean. We can do that. We'll be able to, it'll be large, folded maps in a print version, but we should be able to do that with no problem.
Yeah, I had mentioned, I think, to Kevin and Charlotte, guys, some of the new plans that have come out now, they're doing live hyperlinks within the PDF. So, for instance, if you're in one of these maps, it's a little bit hard to read. You could click that, go directly to that page in the appendix, and do exactly what you're talking about. So, be able to click onto a large format map. Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay?
Oh, one other comment about the maps as they are currently done. And this is consistent for all the maps that were in there. You've hit really major highlights like here's Hilton Head, here's Beaufort, here's Palmetto Bluff. But then there's a lot of smaller communities that give really, there's not enough contextual information to exactly know what you're looking at. So it might be helpful to have like, this is Bluffton Park, or this is Hampton Lake, some of the smaller points of reference that exist. And they don't have to be as large in terms of font. I know you know this. I don't need to tell you that. But that would be very helpful on some of those maps.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's something that even after the fact, if we needed to go back in and where we see, again, that's more content. So we could, if there's something where we're like, we need to address that one, even after the fact, we can always go back in and add, that additional information.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, the goal is to get that in there first.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll just do a quick recap from what we're looking at is potentially, if we can get our the various other parties to be able to attend these meetings either in person or via Teams, we'll do that. We're looking at a let's put the calendar up here.
Can I pause you there?
Yeah, go ahead.
When we're inviting them, can we give them the materials as it's presented now and comments related to their sections?
Absolutely, and what we'll do is, from a staff level, we can kind of sit with them and fill them in on what's happening, just so that they get the background information from a process standpoint as well as content standpoint.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So what I have is July 20th, which is next Wednesday. And we would start with the cultural resource and people element. Then we have July 21st with natural resources and resiliency.
What date was that one?
July 21st.
Yeah, okay.
So Wednesday, then Thursday. Then we have August 2nd, and we'd focus on land use and housing. August 4th, which is the Thursday, focus on community facilities and transportation. August 10th, which would be the economy and priority investment. The goal is to start at 4:30. They'll be here at Town Hall. All the meetings will be open to the public. We will look to see what we can do from a live stream county channel. I'm not 100% sure, so I don't want to promise anything yet. At a minimum, it could be recorded and then uploaded after the fact. And then our goal is we'll get this information to you ahead of time. We've got a lot of comments here on the various maps, survey information, land use maps, the exhibits, linked documents. Reach out to all of the various agencies that we've been talking to and fill them in on this, and see if we can have at least one representative of each one of them in attendance to be able to have an open forum discussion with you.
So when do we see people and cultural resources with suggested edits and comments and so on, so we can start preparing for next Wednesday's meeting?
I thought we were
That's
going to
okay.
do that in the meeting.
Well,
So if I could really quickly on this particular point, Kevin, if it's appropriate, I think with the commission's permission, what I would love to do is structure some agenda around each of these meetings that really focuses in on the themes of your comments, and organizes those into into a conversation that we can work through point by point. That would really help me, I think, to unpack each of these, to have the necessary debate if necessary, and also to land on some consensus and direction, for us to proceed. Is that fair?
It is, but what I was asking is, we've submitted comments relating to some of these, and I'd love to get a cohesive kind of comments as they relate to these first two sections. I get what you're talking about as far as setting an agenda and kind of a guide, guide us herd of cats through what we have to go through. But there's some data and there's some comments out there related to this that I feel like we may not have seen yet. And that helps us process before we come in, so we have the questions and we have the comments that help make this the best plan it can be.
Well, question though, I mean, are you referring to the data and comments that we submitted or something else?
Us and any public
Any
comments.
public
Because I thought you said you were going to share those with us in advance of that meeting.
That's our goal. Like, the goal is that we're kind of rolling, and yes, that's next Wednesday.
That's why I'm saying
Right, but
narrow
haven't
it
you
to
given
these.
the comments to our consultant? So don't we have them bundled somehow that we could just send them out?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a document with all the comments contained
Yes.
into one from you all that I've received.
Yes.
I also have notes throughout the document for some additional information that would be helpful as you all continue to review this. And I think what I'm suggesting is, one, I would love to pull out those pertinent pages, verbatim with your comments included, leading into each of these discussions, and have a summarizing agenda and set of notes that, again, you said herding cats, but I think it's just more to organize that discussion.
So is your intent, sorry, there's so many places to look, is your intent is not necessarily to revise the people and the cultural resources. Your intent is to come to the meeting next Wednesday, outlining what our comments are, how you intend to address those, and do you have any further commentary about how those are to be addressed as we move forward? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Okay, and I guess with that, and I think what you're getting to is that, and maybe in the future meetings that we would then have just kind of like a recap of the previous items to be addressed. Now, having a July 20th and then a July 21st meeting, we're not going to have that information readily available. So it might be more towards that.
Kevin, I'm sorry to interrupt, but WAPAC is scheduled for the 28th of this month.
But it's going to be in the evening.
I know, but we could ask if they could reschedule it, their morning meeting to the evening meeting. Because this was actually going to be a discussion on their agenda.
Yeah, we're not, they can't meet on the 28th. Is that what you said, the 28th?
Yeah,
Yeah.
We decided not the 28th because we have a big agenda
on the
on
27th.
the 27th.
And way past
It's the next day. It's over. Your big agenda is over the night before.
So that way we can just have the meeting.
What's, remind me, Kim, what's WAPAC?
The May River Watershed Action Plan Advisory Committee.
So that
So
relates.
that would be your natural resources and your resiliency input.
So then why don't we switch that with one of the other ones so that we can have that discussion after WAPAC meets? Change I know the flow that Kyle, that you suggested is that, but if we can get input from WAPAC, maybe we put natural resources and resiliency on either August 2nd or 4th.
I
Or
think
even
this goes
10th.
back to Kevin needing to have those conversations with the partners, just to align that with what they're doing.
Yeah, because we're not set in stone. Those are just an initial thought.
This is the tentative,
Yeah,
correct?
so yeah, if
Yeah.
we can switch them depending.
And I just did want to share with you all, and I'm sorry to interrupt your meeting, that they were scheduled to meet regularly on the 28th. So I understand you have a big night the night before, but just throwing it out there.
Thank you.
Can I go back for just a second to Kyle's point? I'm not sure if I want to go into the meeting on the 20th, just him spending most of the time telling us what we said. There's got to be some discussion, and I don't know if that's what your plan is.
I feel like we need to read everything.
No, let me clarify. My intention is not to just tell you what you said. My intention is to have a discussion around what you said within each of these sections to identify what the specific path would be with each of the chapters. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
Okay.
Okay. What do we do now?
What do we do now? Well, now we have an opportunity, I believe there's public
Public
comment.
comment.
Yes.
So again, wanted to kind of get through some of this information first.
Okay.
And then allow for public comment.
Thank you.
So I'll let you,
Before we do that, just a question. Can we, and maybe we can't, But can we set in stone what the first two topics are going to be for next Wednesday, so we know coming out of here what we need to start looking at tomorrow? Or do
I
we
think the
have to-
cultural resources and people
So
Be
that's a
number one.
definite.
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Okay.
And again, for Kyle's purposes, getting this kind of like lined up, then he can really focus on that cultural resources portion of it first. So that way he's not, expending his energy on the economy right now.
Yeah.
So,
But we would also need fairly quickly, if we're going to do natural resources and resiliency on the 21st or move it, because we need to be studying up on the next two topics.
yeah.
It'll be the next day.
Yes.
So if for some reason, because of the Watershed Commission, you decide not to have that on 7/21, you need to let us know as soon as practical which ones we are doing.
So I'm going to look to the director if she's available on the 21st. So that's probably the best person.
I cleared my calendar. I just cleared my calendar sitting in the back of the room, just in case.
Well, but if she's saying, and if I'm hearing you right, and I think I am, it would be beneficial to have WAPAC meet and discuss this issue before we discuss this issue, because we're going to get feedback from WAPAC.
And
So
I've
my
asked
suggestion is,
a way to give feedback.
we switch what's on the 21st with what's on the 4th, subject to anything else that may have to happen, but that fits natural resource and resiliency into something where we can get feedback from a committee, which is what we're talking about doing.
Okay. All right. So potentially rearranging and then having on July 21st, we would have the community facility and transportation discussion.
But I think Kyle was saying that there was more work that he needed to do on that research-wise. So can we switch it with land use and housing?
See, and I think.
I'm sorry, did you say that one more time?
Go ahead.
I thought he was saying the economy one was the most.
Okay.
Kyle, what flexibility do you have to switch transportation and community facilities with natural resources and resiliency?
Oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Which one?
I just asked him if he could switch transportation
Transportation,
and community
yeah.
with that one. He said he could.
Okay. So are we okay on that, everybody?
On what?
He switched the natural resources and the community and transportation.
He can switch what we had on 7/21 to put it on 8/4, just flop them. Kyle's okay with that, if we're okay with that.
Kevin, I know you need more to do. Do you mind sharing the list of partners that you're reaching out to with us?
Yes, we can do that. We'll work on getting that. Okay. All right. So let me make sure I got this correct. All right. Now we're proposing July 20th, cultural resources and people. July 21st, land use and housing.
No. Transportation
Transportation.
and community facilities.
Oh, okay. All right. July 21st.
Land use, oh,
Yeah.
Transportation and community
Transportation.
facilities.
Yep. And then August 2nd
Land.
is the land use. August 4th is now resiliency,
And natural
natural
resources.
resources. And then August 10th is the economy and priority investment.
Yes.
until you talk to these committees and switch it all.
Until we talk to it, and everything is subject to change.
Everything.
Because WAPAC was a perfect example of it.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that's why we're having the discussion right now, so,
Okay.
okay. All right.
Everybody good?
Yes.
Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to move to public comment regarding this topic. I did talk with a member of the public, so I'm just going to throw it out there. They were concerned that the use of the word oyster was not in this at all, which is a very important factor of our community.
Who?
I'm sorry, what was that again? I apologize.
The use of the word oyster, they didn't see that it was anywhere really mentioned about our community and how we've come about.
Who is they, please?
A community member.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I was talking to someone in the community.
That's fine.
And a community member had voiced that, so I just was letting everyone know that that was their concern.
So for example, Kyle, we have the only operating oyster shucking facility in all of South Carolina. We have a major park around that. We have festivals and oyster roasts all winter long. So I agree.
Okay, so public comment. Carrie, who do we have?
Carmen Manning.
And please speak into the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Can you hear me?
Go a little bit closer. There you go.
Carmen Avon Manning at 111 Quartercasting Circle in Bluffton. In general, my comments are that there was 174 recommendations, and they do not match the priorities identified by the stakeholders. And they were the pace and overdevelopment in traffic and roadway safety. Second, the majority of the recommendations were very passive, with no real action items. Specifically, Section 9 on community facilities is not in accordance with the statute, which is Section 6-29340 and 510, or my experience in writing these plans, especially an assessment of the service. Okay, do they consistently meet regulatory limits and current demand, and are they reliable? Is there sufficient capacity to meet the expected growth? And if not, what actions will be implemented? For example, solid waste collection and disposal, electric power, and fire prevention are not even mentioned. Stormwater is mentioned. However, there's no mention of the impact of impervious surfaces. And the latest report shows in 2018, the watersheds, Stony Creek, we were at 15% impervious, Rosedew Creek, 20%, and Palmetto Bluff, 10%. So we're already seeing impacts. You mentioned the oysters. It's already closed to shellfish harvesting because of those watersheds. And there is nothing in that report about 10% impervious. Big glaring omission. Wastewater, the only thing it says is that 8% is reclaimed for irrigating golf courses. Wonderful. Where's the other 92% going? Do you know? Does anybody here know where it is going? It says, you can't discharge it to the streams and rivers. Do you know why? Because they're outstanding water resources. But the water is going somewhere, and you have nothing in this section. There's nothing about whether there's capacity for the sewer, and we're building more and more homes. And guess what? They're cooking and they're flushing the toilet. Water, they mention the problems with discoloration and pressure, and they mention that we have to restrict water. This is America. When we turn on the tap, we'd like to have water. Nothing, absolutely nothing about the demand. Nothing about which treatment facility is treating that water. Absolutely nothing. And lastly, there are 7 recommendations, and I have to tell you, I'm very disappointed.
You can finish that statement, please.
After reading all the inadequacies there are 7 recommendations. Do you know what they are? Promote composting. Eliminate the use of non-recyclables at town events. Continue to host the May River cleanup. Woefully inadequate for this chapter. We also have missing verbs on underground power lines. What exactly do you want to do with the underground power lines? And then install conduit and designated easement for utilities and capital improvement projects. I don't know what that means. And then there's the last one, which is a long-worded phrase about establishing long-term planning, prioritization, and investment strategies for future infrastructure and facilities, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. I had to write these reports. I had to tell you the treatment plant It's treating 4 MGD. We're going to need another 1 MGD. We've got to upgrade the treatment processes to meet the new regulatory requirements, and that's going to be requiring X, Y, and Z. And it's so clear to me that we've developed very quickly. And I'm not criticizing everybody. I think everybody tried to do the best they could. But the way we were forced to do this with PUDs, it wasn't always the best thing. And now we have to fix it, and we have to stop certain things. And the impervious areas, I'm not going to listen to people tell me it's climate change and everything else. We paved over the green space. Okay, and that water is going somewhere, and it's going to our outstanding water resources. And I think the gentleman you talked to said it very clearly. The oyster is to Bluffton like the canary was to the coal mines.
Thank you very much, and hopefully you'll be here on July 21st.
I'm hoping that we can fix it. Yeah.
Ms. Manning, I have a,
Is Carmen on the watershed committee? Okay, because she needs to be if she's not.
Ms. Manning, I wanted to see, did you submit these comments in writing by chance?
The other ones I did, these I didn't.
Do you mind providing those? Because there was a lot to digest, and I love it, and I would love to see those in writing so that I can better process that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else, Carrie? Nope. Okay, so public comments over. So there's no, since it was discussion, there was no action, correct? So,
Yeah, correct. No action. Obviously, we have a game plan to move forward. Charlotte's been typing away at this information. What we'll do is we'll work on getting an email out to you guys tomorrow, just with a tentative schedule of everything, so that way you can kind of start to put that on your calendars. We can start blocking off the times. We'll work to see from a streaming standpoint what we can do. We'll start to reach out to all of the various agencies. We'll get I think we have a list of items, including who all we are going to be contacting, and our goal is to get at least one representative of each one to attend, either electronically or in person. And then, did you have a question?
I do.
Yes.
Just because we just did it, it's more a Robert's Rules thing. Do we need to make a motion and vote on adding these meeting dates like we did for tonight?
I would say that yes, for just a motion to accept these dates as stated for future special meetings.
So moved.
second? All, discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much.
Make sure we're covered.
Yes, thank you, and we'll make sure to start putting it onto the website, and probably what we'll do is once we have it clearly established of what elements are going on what dates, we'll probably work on getting a press release put together, just so that way we can get that out into the public so everyone is aware, and it's not just necessarily, oh, an agenda pops up and then they find out what the item is. So, Kyle, do you have any last comments or items that we need to address?
No, other than just to say thank you. I think, again, for your thorough review and your commitment, I think, to walk through this with me. I think Kevin, I've mentioned this, but he's worked best with a partnership, so I'm going to work really hard on your behalf to work this in the right direction. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Anything else, Kevin?
Great. That's all I have.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Say it louder.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.